Hey guys, I got a lot of questions emailed to me today by a lot of different people about this game. So I just wanted to make a quick video for you guys to kind of show you how it works. So I skipped a lot of the intro stuff because that's this just the directions and you guys can all read that on your own. So I didn't think I needed to include it in the video. So I just wanted to do the part that you have to kind of walk around and collect specimens and then figure them out because that's what I got the most questions on. So when you first start playing on here, there will be a whole bunch of gates in here. So you do have to talk to each of the scientists in order to open the gate. And the scientists will give you some important information for the second half of the activity. So I recommend trying to remember that, or even better, taking notes. But again, I did all of that already before recording the video because you guys can go do that on your own time and you can read and listen to the scientists. I don't think you need to do it along with me in the video. But I do want to show you where the 6 specimens are because there's one, especially that's pretty tricky. It took me a while to find it, so I just want to show you real quick. Some of them, like this fox and the bamboo that we just passed, aren't specimens, so you can go look at them. They'll just say, like, that's fox, that's bamboo. Here's our first one. So if you click examine.
Well, this is an odd one. It looks like a strange plant, but we'll have to examine it further to be sure. New specimen collected.
So now it says new specimen collected, and you can see it down here. So we need to go find 5 more. So I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to talk to that scientist. You guys can do that on your own time. Keep going. I'm going to skip some of these. Here's your second one.
Weird. These brightly colored stones are showing signs of life. Perhaps there's a creature living inside them. New specimen collected.
And let's keep going. Let's skip the bear because that's creepy. Here's number 3.
Oh goodness, look at this ant. It's got a growth on its head. Maybe it's a specialized organ. I'll have to investigate further. New specimen collected.
Number 4 is this one right here.
Phew, this manure is funky. But I'm picking up multiple life signs, so I'd better take a sample. Yuck. New specimen collected.
Okay, this next one is, I think, is the trickiest one. This took me forever to find, but it's actually this shadow in the water right here. So if you go up to it, you'll see examine.
How strange. This water is showing signs of life. But it doesn't look like anything is in there. We'll need to take a closer look. New specimen collected.
So that's the weird one. You'll take a water sample. And then we've got just one more up here. Here's your 6th specimen.
I can just about make out some very small specimens with my magnifying glass amongst these pebbles. Surely there can't be any organisms as tiny as that. Let's get it back to the lab. New specimen collected.
All right, so those are your 6 specimens. And then for the second part, you have to go back into the lab and try to identify them. And I think that's where a lot of people were getting tripped up. So we'll talk about that for a minute. So we'll go up to the lab desk, we'll click examine.
1. Click a specimen from the rack below to view it. 2. Choose a magnifying device to examine the specimen more closely. 3. Click on the glowing red markers for additional clues. 4. Select all the observations in the panel on the right that match the specimen. 5. When you have identified all the true observations, the specimen name will be revealed.
All right, so basically we're going to click on these 4 samples down here. Let's just start with the first one.
What a strange specimen this is. Maybe it's a plant.
And our task is to look at it through 3 different, or I guess 4 different lenses. So the normal one, magnifying glass, microscope, or the high-powered TEM microscope, and try to figure out which of these characteristics on the right apply to it. So you can, as you read through the different hints, you'll figure out if it's alive or not. From the conversations with the scientists, I know I didn't record those, I skipped those, but if you do those on your own time, we know that a eukaryote is anything with a nucleus and DNA. So as we zoom in, I'll show you guys what a nucleus looks like. A prokaryote does not have a nucleus. So if we don't see that, and again, I'll show you what that looks like, you would choose prokaryote. Then you have to decide it's either going to be bacteria, animal, plant, fungi, or virus. So it'll just be one of those things. Single-celled, so do you see just one cell, or multicellular, do you see more than one? Does it have a nucleus, and does it do reproduction? So as we go in a little bit closer, I'll show you what those all look like. So let's start with the magnifying glass.
There seems to be some differing internal structures in this cross section. These are channels running to the central opening. An internal chamber runs along the length of the central structure. There is a clear set of different layers on the outer lining of this specimen.
Okay, so this doesn't tell me too much in this one, so I'm going to go to the microscope.
These look like cells. Can you see any signs of change here?
So there's a few important things here. So the first thing I notice is that it's made out of cells, and we learned in, I believe it was yesterday's activity, that all characteristics of living things or alive things is that it has cells. So because there's cells,
Alive.
I'm going to click alive. I also see more than one cell. There's a lot in here. So if my choices are single-celled or multicellular, I'm going to choose multi.
Multicellular.
And now I want to look for a nucleus. So anywhere that you see a darker colored dot in the middle of a cell, that's considered a nucleus. So most of these have a nucleus. Some of them look a little bit weird, and I'll talk about that next. But they have a nucleus, so I'm going to click nucleus. I also know from talking to the scientists that if it has a nucleus, it's automatically a eukaryote. So I'm going to click that one.
Eukaryote.
So the last two things I need to figure out is this chunk of stuff in here and if it's reproducing or not. So when we're checking for reproduction, you can see reproduction if any of the cells look like they're splitting themselves in half. That's how cells reproduce, is they basically clone themselves and split into two. So I see one right here, and I think the robot will tell you about it if you click on it.
The cells in this specimen are quite densely packed.
Okay, just kidding. That wasn't helpful. But you can see in the picture that it looks like it's starting to split in two, so that is reproduction.
Reproduction.
And now I need to figure out, I just have one left: bacteria, animal, plant, fungus, or virus. So let's go to the TEM.
I wonder what all these different structures do.
So the TEM doesn't have a whole lot of information. You can click all of these to go through it. One thing is this one,
membrane is a lipid bilayer,
which you'll actually learn about later in the week. It has a thin membrane, so it is not a plant. And fungus and viruses don't have membranes, so this is an animal.
CPEN.
So once you get them all correct down here.
It's not a plant at all, but a colonial animal called the CPEN, closely related to jellyfish.
Okay, thanks, robot. Anyways, once you get them all correct here, it will tell you what the specimen is, so that's how you know you got it correct. So let's do one more, and then I'll finish up this video, and hopefully this is enough to get you guys started.
These specimens look like stones, but I'm detecting signs of life.
All right, so the robot says detecting signs of life, so probably it's alive. But let's zoom in a little bit and see if we can see any cells.
What does this internal structure in this cross section signify, I wonder? The outer layers of the organism are tough and waterproof. This area of the cross section is predominantly water.
Okay, that doesn't tell us a ton. I know from my knowledge of cells that if it has a tough outerproof layer that it's a plant. I know you guys haven't learned that yet, so I don't expect you to know that, but I'm going to go ahead and click plant. When it comes down to it, you guys can also do a little bit of guesswork in here. That's probably not the most scientific, but it's okay.
Can you spot any variation in the cells?
All right, this is going to tell us a lot of information. So we see cells. Cells are a characteristic of living things, so it is alive.
Alive.
I also can see that it is multicellular because there's more than one cell, so I'm going to click multicellular.
Multicellular.
Now I want to look for a nucleus. Do I see a dark colored dot in the middle of the cells? And I notice these purple ones, that's our nucleus, our dark colored dot. So yes, it has a nucleus.
Nucleus.
Anything that has a nucleus is a eukaryote. So eukaryote means it has a nucleus, prokaryote means it doesn't.
Eukaryote.
And the last thing I need to check for is reproduction. So let's click on this red dot. That's going to help us with that one.
This cell seems to be growing a border across itself.
So growing a border across itself sounds to me like it's splitting itself in half. If you notice, it has two nuclei. That's the plural of nucleus. So it grew a second nucleus, and now it's cutting itself in half to become two cells, or it's reproducing.
Lithops. Oh my, these aren't stones. They're succulent plants called lithops. They grow in southern Africa.
Awesome. So we have identified our second specimen. So this video is getting kind of long and I don't want to go on for too long because I know at some point you'll get bored and stop watching. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here, but hopefully that helps you at least get started. So basically, in general, the things you want to look for: does it have cells? If it does, it's alive. If there's more than one, it's multicellular. If it's just one, it's single celled. Look for a dark dot in the center. That means it has a nucleus and it's a eukaryote. If it doesn't, it's a prokaryote. And see if you can see any cells splitting in half or with more than one nucleus. That means reproduction. And then once you have those staples, try to get your best guess just by looking at it if you think it's bacteria, animal, plant, fungus, or virus. So use some context clues, and it's okay if you kind of guess through those until you get it right. So this video is getting really long, so I'm going to cut it off. Hopefully this can help you a little bit. And if it doesn't, that's fine. Send me an email and I can help you out. All right.